The massive viewing screen of Earth's most powerful battleship showed nothing but stars. Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of the EBS Thunderchild, his weathered hands gripping the command rail as he watched the endless void. 20 years of service had left lines on his face, but his eyes remained sharp and alert. "Signal from Earth Command, sir," called out Tom from the communication station. The young officer's voice carried the tension they all felt. "The Galactic Council's fleet has crossed Mars' orbit." Walker nodded slowly. The moment they had trained for was finally here. Humanity's first, and possibly last stand against the most powerful civilization in known space. The Thunderchild represented everything humans had learned from thousands of years of warfare, packed into one vessel. "Put the fleet numbers on the main screen," Walker ordered. The display changed, showing hundreds of red dots approaching Earth. The Council wasn't taking any chances. They had sent enough ships to conquer 10 planets. Below deck, Chief Engineer Ray worked with his team, pushing the ship's revolutionary engines beyond their limits. Unlike the Council's ships, which used standardized systems unchanged for centuries, the Thunderchild's power core combined old and new technologies in ways that would have shocked their alien opponents. "The Council thinks we're savages," Ray muttered as he adjusted the plasma flow. They'd got another thing coming. His team had modified the engines weekly, sometimes daily, always improving, always adapting. It was a very human trait that the Council couldn't understand. Back on the bridge, Walker received the message he had been dreading. The Council's ultimatum appeared on his personal screen. Surrender Earth's military forces and accept integration into the Galactic Council, or face complete isolation and possible extinction. "They still think we'll just give up," Walker said to his first officer, Bill. "They don't understand what they're dealing with." Bill stepped closer, keeping his voice low. "The Council's ships outnumber us 50 to 1, sir. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." "Numbers aren't everything, Bill. Neither is technology." Walker pulled up the tactical display. "Humanity didn't get where it is by surrendering when things looked bad. We got here by facing impossible odds and finding a way to win." The Thunderchild's crew worked with practiced efficiency. Every person on board knew their role. They had trained together, lived together, and now they might die together. But unlike the Council's crews, who relied heavily on AI and automated systems, the Thunderchild's strength came from human intuition and creativity. Earth's cities glowed beneath them, billions of lives depending on their success. The Council had never lost a war in their 10,000 years of existence. They had absorbed or destroyed every civilization they encountered, always following the same pattern: overwhelming force, standard tactics, guaranteed victory. But they had never faced humans before. "Power up the magnetic shields," Walker commanded. Another human innovation the Council wouldn't expect. "Launch our scout drones." The small, unmanned vessels shot out from the Thunderchild's launch bays, their designs based on old Earth fighter jets rather than standard space technology. The Council's ships drew closer. Their formation was perfect, unchanged for millennia because it had always worked before. Walker smiled. Perfection meant predictability. "Sir," Tom called out again. "The Council's high speaker is demanding to speak with you directly." Walker straightened his uniform. "Put him through." The screen flickered, revealing the ancient face of High Speaker Marcus. The alien's silver skin and multiple eyes might have once seemed intimidating, but now Walker only saw the complacency in his expression. "Captain of Earth vessel," Marcus spoke in the formal tones of someone unused to being denied. "Your planet's resistance is futile. Accept our guidance, and your people will prosper under Council rule." Walker met the alien's gaze steadily. "With respect, High Speaker, humanity doesn't prosper under anyone's rule but its own. We've spent our entire history fighting against impossible odds. It's what we do best." The High Speaker's expression showed the familiar mixture of confusion and disdain that Council members always displayed when humans defied them. "You cannot hope to win. Our victory is mathematically certain." "Math isn't everything," Walker replied. "You've forgotten something important in your 10,000 years of peace, something humanity has never forgotten." He paused, allowing himself a small smile. "The most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the best weapons. It's the one who never learned how to surrender." The transmission ended, and Walker turned to his crew. Beyond the viewing screen, the Council's fleet approached in their perfect, predictable formation. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin, and despite the odds, Walker felt ready. The Thunderchild might be just one ship, but it carried within it humanity's greatest weapon: the absolute refusal to accept defeat. The Council's war rooms sparkled with holographic displays, each showing the position of their massive fleet as it moved through Earth's solar system. High Speaker Marcus paced the polished floor, his silver robes flowing behind him. 10,000 years of Council history watched him through the portraits of previous High Speakers on the walls. "These humans are different," said Council member Anne, her green scales reflecting the light from the displays. "They show no fear." Marcus stopped pacing. The humans' defiance bothered him more than he wanted to admit. Every species before them had accepted Council rule quickly, understanding the benefits of joining their perfect society. But humans seemed to take pride in standing alone. "Send the final warning," Marcus ordered. The message would be broadcast to every screen on Earth: surrender within 24 hours or face destruction. On the Thunderchild, Captain Walker received the transmission with his senior staff. They watched in silence as Marcus listed Earth's crimes: developing weapons without Council approval, refusing integration, and worst of all, encouraging other species to question Council wisdom. "They really don't understand us at all," said Bill, shaking his head. The first officer had served with Walker for 7 years, and both men knew how this would end. Humans would fight. Deep in Council space, the first cracks in their perfect society were already showing. Younger Council members had watched Earth's broadcasts with growing interest. They saw humans building, creating, and competing. It was messy and chaotic, but it was also alive in a way their own worlds hadn't been for centuries. "The humans have no chance of victory," Marcus told his advisors, but for the first time in his 300-year life, he felt uncertain. The Council's combat computers showed 100 different simulations, all ending in Earth's defeat, but humans weren't following any of the expected patterns. Walker spent the hours before the deadline walking through his ship. He talked with his crew, sharing jokes and stories. The Council would have seen it as a waste of time, but Walker knew that human connections were worth more than any computer simulation. In the engine room, Ray had made another modification to the ship's power core. The Council's ships never change, using the same perfect designs for centuries. But the Thunderchild evolved daily, each small improvement adding to her strength. "We've got something new for them, Captain," Ray said, pointing to the engine readouts. "They think their shields can stop anything, but they've never seen what we can do when we get creative." The Council's war room erupted in surprise when their sensors detected the energy spike from the Thunderchild. It wasn't possible, according to their data. No ship that small should have that much power. "They are breaking all the rules," Anne said, her voice mixing worry with fascination. "Their ship's design changes faster than our computers can analyze it." Marcus felt his perfect world starting to crack. The Council had built its power on predictability and control, but humans thrived on chaos and change. They turned weakness into strength, using their small numbers and limited technology to force innovation. The deadline approached. On Earth, billions watched and waited. In Council space, younger species began questioning traditions they had followed blindly for centuries. And on the Thunderchild, Walker prepared his crew for the fight of their lives. "The Council thinks they're giving us our last chance," Walker told his bridge crew. "But they don't realize something important. Every time humanity has faced extinction, we've come back stronger. We don't just survive. We learn, we adapt, and we overcome." The final hour arrived. Marcus sent the last transmission himself, his silver face filling screens across Earth. "Your time is up." Accept Council rule or face the consequences. Earth's response was simple. Across the planet, defense systems powered up. The Thunderchild's engines hummed with Ray's latest modifications, and Walker sent back a message that would be remembered for centuries. We choose to face the consequences, and we choose to show you why humanity has survived every challenge we've ever faced. The Council's perfect society faced its greatest test, not just against Earth's weapons, but against the very idea that progress comes through struggle, not comfort. The next few hours would change the galaxy forever, and deep down, even Marcus knew it. The Thunderchild glided silently through the space near Jupiter, using the giant planet's strong magnetic field to hide from the Council's sensors. Captain Walker watched 5 Council warships pass by, their golden hulls gleaming in the dim sunlight. Each enemy ship was 3 times the size of the Thunderchild, but size wasn't everything. Power readings from the Council ships are steady, Tom reported from his station. Their shields follow the same pattern every 2 minutes. Just like our intel said, they never change. Walker nodded. The Council's biggest weakness was their perfect predictability. How's our new trick coming along, Ray? He asked through the ship's comm system. Down in engineering, Ray grinned as he made final adjustments to their secret weapon. Ready to show them something they've never seen before, Captain. We've timed it with Jupiter's magnetic pulses. They won't know what hit them. The Council ships moved in their standard patrol formation, their AI systems running the same programs they'd used for centuries. They never expected an attack. They never expected anything different from what their computers predicted. All hands to battle stations, Walker ordered quietly. Let's show them how humans fight. The Thunderchild burst from Jupiter's shadow, riding a massive electromagnetic wave that Ray had timed perfectly. The Council ship's sensors went crazy, blinded by the radiation burst. Before they could react, Walker's ship was among them. Their AI can't adapt. Bill shouted as the Thunderchild weaved through enemy fire. The Council ships shot where their computers said the Thunderchild should be, not where it actually was. Walker had studied old Earth naval battles for months. He used Jupiter's gravity like ancient captains used ocean currents, letting it pull the Thunderchild into impossible turns. The Council ships tried to follow and crashed into each other's energy shields. They're sending out distress signals, Tom reported. Standard protocol says they should retreat and regroup, but they're not. Their programming won't let them run from a smaller force. Walker smiled. Another Council weakness to exploit. Ray, fire up that surprise we built. The Thunderchild's new weapon wasn't fancy technology. It was simple physics combined with human creativity. They fired specially designed missiles that used the Council ship's own shield frequencies against them. The Golden ship's perfect defenses became perfect traps. Direct hits on 2 enemy ships, Bill called out. The Council vessels spun helplessly, their shields overloaded and their systems confused by attacks that shouldn't have been possible according to their data. The remaining 3 Council ships tried to surround the Thunderchild. Walker let them come. Ray had studied their shield patterns and found a 2-second gap that appeared like clockwork. The Council had never fixed it because no one had ever exploited it before. Now, Walker ordered. The Thunderchild fired precisely timed shots through the gaps. 1 Council ship lost power immediately. Another spun away, its engines dark. The last one kept fighting, but its attacks were easy to dodge. The Council's combat AI couldn't understand or counter human unpredictability. Enemy ships are disabled, Captain, Bill reported, trying to hide his excitement. No crew casualties on either side. We followed your orders to target only their power systems. Walker stood from his chair and looked at his crew. Every face showed the same mix of pride and amazement. They had just proved that humanity could fight back. Send a message to the defeated ships, he ordered. Offer them medical assistance if they need it. The Council crew's response was pure confusion. Their combat doctrine said nothing about enemies offering help after a battle. Some of the younger Council officers came aboard the Thunderchild, their eyes wide as they saw how humans really lived and fought. "Your ship changes," one council officer said to Ray in engineering. "Our ships have been the same for centuries. We're taught that perfection needs no improvement." Ray showed them the engine modifications he'd made during the battle itself. "Humans don't believe in perfection," he explained. "We believe in getting better every day." The news of the battle spread quickly through Council space. 5 of their best ships, defeated by one human vessel using tactics that broke all the rules. But more importantly, the story spread of humans who fought with honor and offered help to defeated enemies. In his war room, High Speaker Marcus received the battle report with shock. The impossible had happened, and now he had to explain to the Council how their perfect systems had failed. The war was just beginning, and already the galaxy was changing. The captured Council ships proved to be a treasure trove of information. While the Thunderchild hid in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Tom worked day and night studying the enemy's communication systems. What he found made him rush to the bridge at 3 in the morning, ship time. Walker was still awake, studying battle reports when Tom burst in. "Captain, you need to see this," the young officer said, his eyes bright with excitement. "The Council's entire fleet, every single ship, they're all running the exact same combat program." "Show me," Walker ordered, and Tom pulled up the data on the main screen. Lines of alien code scrolled past, but the pattern was clear even to non-experts. The Council hadn't just standardized their ships, they'd made them all think exactly alike. "It's like they're all copies of each other," Tom explained. "No variety, no adaptation. They're using combat software that hasn't changed in over 1,000 years." In the ship's mess hall, Bill was sharing a late meal with some of the Council officers who had surrendered. The younger aliens were fascinated by how humans lived. "Your crew makes decisions without checking with Central Command," one asked, clearly amazed. "We have to," Bill explained. "In battle, there's no time to ask permission for every move. We trust our people to think for themselves." The news spread through the ship like wildfire. Ray and his engineering team worked through the night, developing new ways to confuse the Council's ancient but unchanging systems. They made themselves perfect, Ray told his crew. But they also made themselves predictable. Walker called a meeting of his senior staff. The Thunderchild's small conference room was cramped. But nobody minded. They were too excited about what they'd discovered. "The Council's weakness isn't their technology," Walker said, looking at each member of his team. "Their weakness is that they stopped growing. They found what worked and never looked for anything better." Tom showed them more data from the captured ships. The Council's entire fleet used the same shield frequencies, the same attack patterns, even the same emergency protocols. They had achieved perfect coordination by making every ship identical. "But that means if we can beat one of them," Bill started. "We can beat all of them," Walker finished. "We just need the right plan." In Council space, the effects of the Thunderchild's victory were already showing. Younger species in the Council began questioning the old ways. Why did every ship have to be the same? Why couldn't they try new ideas? High Speaker Marcus felt his control slipping. Reports came in of Council ships' crews making unauthorized modifications, trying to copy the Thunderchild's successful tactics. Worse, some were starting to ask why the combat systems hadn't been updated in so long. Back on the Thunderchild, Walker put his crew to work. They modified their weapons to exploit the Council's unchanging shield patterns. They developed new tactics that the 1,000-year-old combat AI couldn't understand. Every human on board contributed ideas. "The Council thinks unity means everyone being the same," Walker told his crew during a ship-wide announcement. "But real unity comes from different people working together, each bringing their own strengths." The captured Council officers watched the humans work with growing interest. They saw how the Thunderchild's crew argued, tested ideas, failed, and tried again. It was messy and chaotic compared to Council ships, but it was also powerful. "Your weight is not efficient," one Council officer told Ray as they worked on the engines together. "Maybe not," Ray agreed, tightening a bolt on his latest modification. But it works. And tomorrow it'll work even better, because we'll learn from today's mistakes. Walker spent hours in his quarters, planning their next move. The Council's fleet was still huge, but now he knew their secret. They had tried so hard to be perfect that they'd forgotten how to change. "Send a message to Earth Command," he told Tom. "Tell them we found the Council's weakness, and tell them to spread the word to every human ship. The Council's greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. They don't know how to adapt." The Thunderchild moved silently through space, preparing for its next battle. But now they weren't just fighting for Earth. They were fighting to show the galaxy that real strength comes from embracing change, not running from it. The Council's main fleet gathered near Saturn's rings, 300 golden ships floating in perfect formation. Their sensors watched for the Thunderchild, but they weren't prepared for where the human ship would appear. Walker had studied old Earth naval battles, especially those where small forces defeated larger ones. He remembered stories about PT boats hiding in island shadows during World War II. Now he used Saturn's rings the same way, the ice and rock hiding his ship's heat signature. "Look at that formation," Bill said quietly on the bridge. "All those ships lined up exactly the same way. They never learn." Walker nodded. The Council's fleet was beautiful but predictable. Every ship was exactly 5 kilometers from its neighbors. Their shields all pulsed with the same rhythm. Their sensors all swept space in the same pattern. "Start the music," Walker ordered. In engineering, Ray activated their secret weapon. They had loaded the captured Council combat data into special transmitters. The human ship was about to play the enemy's own song back to them. The Council fleet's sensors went crazy. Suddenly, they detected what seemed like 50 Thunderchild ships, all broadcasting perfect Council recognition codes. The enemy fleet's computers couldn't understand what was happening. Their own signals were being used against them. "They're breaking formation," Tom reported with a grin. The Council ships moved to attack the Phantom signals, their AI systems following protocols that never expected this kind of trick. The real Thunderchild burst out of Saturn's rings riding a wave of ice crystals. The frozen debris scattered enemy sensor beams while Ray's modified shields kept the ship safe. They flew right into the middle of the confused Council fleet. "Just like breaking up a school of fish," Walker said, remembering Earth's ocean predators. The Thunderchild's weapons fired in precise patterns, not trying to destroy the Council ships, but forcing them to move where Walker wanted them. High Speaker Marcus watched in horror from his command ship as his perfect fleet fell into chaos. The Council vessels crashed into each other trying to follow combat protocols that didn't match reality. Their 1,000-year-old AI systems couldn't adapt to human tricks. "Your orders aren't working," Council member Anne shouted at Marcus. "Let the ship captains make their own decisions." But it was too late. The Council crews had relied on computers for so long that they didn't know how to fight without them. The Thunderchild danced between the larger ships, using their size against them. When one Council ship fired, Walker made sure another Council ship was in the way. "Engineering reports enemy ships are starting to lose power," Tom called out. "Ray's signal is overloading their systems." The Council's mighty fleet was beating itself. Ships that tried to follow old attack patterns crashed into ships that were trying to retreat. Their energy weapons hit their own shields. Communication channels filled with confusion as the Council crews faced something their computers said was impossible. Walker kept his crew focused. "Disable their engines, but don't destroy them," he ordered. "Show them we're better than that." More Council ships lost power every minute. Some tried to copy the Thunderchild's moves, but their AI systems weren't built for innovation. The Council crews could only watch as the single human ship took apart their fleet piece by piece. "Enemy flagship is signaling," Tom reported. "High Speaker Marcus is asking to speak with you." The Council leader's silver face appeared on the main screen. For the first time in centuries, he looked uncertain. "How?" Marcus demanded. "How can one ship defeat our perfect fleet?" "Because we're not trying to be perfect," Walker answered. We're just trying to be better today than we were yesterday. Your ships can't improve because you won't let them change." The battle ended with 200 Council ships disabled but not destroyed. The Thunderchild's crew worked for hours helping repair enemy life support systems and rescuing crews from damaged ships. The Council officers couldn't understand why humans would help defeated enemies. "Because that's what humans do," Ray told a confused Council engineer as he helped fix their power core. "We fight hard, but we don't hold grudges. We're too busy thinking about tomorrow to waste time on yesterday's battles." The news spread faster than light through the galaxy. The Council's unbeatable fleet had been defeated by one human ship using creativity and compassion instead of brute force. Everything was about to change. Word of the Thunderchild's victory spread through Council space like a wildfire. On 1,000 worlds, younger species watched recordings of the battle. They saw how one human ship defeated hundreds of Council vessels without destroying them. More importantly, they saw how the humans helped their defeated enemies. In the Council's grand meeting chamber, Marcus faced angry questions from representatives of member worlds. The giant room's perfect white walls seemed less impressive now that everyone knew their fleet wasn't invincible. "Why weren't our combat systems ever updated?" demanded a young Council member, standing up from his seat. "The humans showed us our ships can be better." Council member Anne watched the growing chaos with mixed feelings. She had seen the Thunderchild's crew in action, how they worked together while thinking independently. It was so different from Council ships where computers made all the decisions. "The Council's ways have kept peace for 10,000 years, Marcus said, his voice shaking slightly. But more members stood up, asking questions that had never been asked before. On the Thunderchild, Walker received messages from Council ships across the galaxy. Young officers wanted to know how humans trained their crews to think independently. Engineers asked about Ray's constant modifications to the engines. Even Council citizens sent secret messages asking about Earth's way of life. "They're starting to understand," Bill said as he read through the messages with Walker. "The Council tried so hard to make everything perfect that they stopped all growth and change." Deep in Council space, the first ships broke away from central control. Their crews disabled the old AI systems and started making their own decisions. Council patrol ships refused to stop them, their young captains secretly cheering the rebels on. Ray found himself teaching Council engineers how to modify their ships. At first, they were shocked by the idea of changing their perfect designs, but soon they caught the human spirit of innovation. "Your way is much harder," one Council engineer admitted as she helped Ray install new power systems. "We have to think about every decision now. But it feels more alive." Marcus tried to hold on to control, sending orders for all ships to return to standard protocols. But more crews ignored the commands every day. The Council's perfect order was breaking down, replaced by something new and more dynamic. "The young ones want change," Anne told Marcus in a private meeting. "They see how humans progress through challenge and competition. Our perfection has become our prison." Walker kept the Thunderchild busy, helping Council ships modify their systems and training their crews in tactical thinking. Every day more ships appeared, their captains eager to learn the human way of constant improvement. "We're not teachers," Walker told his crew during a ship meeting. "We're just showing them how to find their own way forward. Every species has to discover their own path." The Council's rigid hierarchy began to crack. Younger members called for new elections, wanting leaders who would embrace change instead of fearing it. Some older Council members supported them, remembering times when their civilization was more dynamic. Tom intercepted messages from across Council space showing how fast things were changing. Ships were being modified, crews were training in new ways, and young officers were learning to make decisions without checking every rule. "They're not copying us exactly," Tom told Walker while showing him the reports. "They're taking our ideas and making them their own. Each species is adding their own unique touches." Marcus made one last attempt to restore the old order. He called for all loyal ships to gather at the Council capital. But when the time came, only a handful of vessels appeared. The rest of the fleet was too busy learning and growing. Your ship changed everything, Anne told Walker during a conference call. Not by destroying our fleet, but by showing us a better way. The Council thought strength came from perfect order, but you proved it comes from growing through challenges. The revolution wasn't fought with weapons, but with ideas. Across Council space, ships and crews discovered the human spirit of innovation and adventure. The perfect, unchanging order was ending, replaced by something more chaotic, but also more alive. And the Thunderchild sailed on, no longer an enemy of the Council, but a symbol of positive change. Walker looked at the stars through his view screen and smiled, knowing that sometimes the biggest victories come not from destroying your opponents, but from showing them a better way to live. 1 month after the revolution began, the Thunderchild approached the Council's capital world. This time, no golden warships tried to stop them. Instead, vessels of all shapes and sizes flew alongside, each one modified and improved in unique ways. Walker stood on his bridge, remembering how different things had been when this all started. Back then, the Council had seemed unbeatable. Now their perfect order had given way to something new and more vibrant. "Message from the new Council Assembly," Tom called out. "They're ready for the ceremony." The great meeting hall had changed. The perfect white walls now displayed artwork from 100 worlds, including Earth. The rigid rows of seats had been rearranged into a circle, showing that all species would now have an equal voice. Anne, now leading the Council's transition team, greeted Walker and his crew at the entrance. "Your ship started all this," she said, gesturing at the gathered representatives. "Not by fighting us, but by showing us how to be better." The hall was packed with delegates from every Council world. Old and young members sat together, planning how to blend the wisdom of tradition with the energy of change. Marcus sat among them, no longer in charge but still respected for his experience. The old Council thought strength meant everyone being the same. Anne addressed the gathering. The Thunderchild proved that real strength comes from diversity. When every ship, every crew, and every world brings their own ideas, we all become stronger. Ray found himself surrounded by Council engineers, all excited to share their modifications and improvements. Every species had taken human ideas and added their own unique touches. The Council's ships were no longer identical golden boxes, but showed the character of their crews. "Look at how they've improved our engine designs," Ray told Walker, pointing at the technical displays. "They're already doing things we never thought of." That's what happens when you let people think for themselves. Bill walked through the crowd, seeing Council officers proudly wearing their own uniform variations instead of identical outfits. Young crews shared battle tactics and training methods, each adding their own culture's wisdom to the mix. "Some of their ideas are better than ours," Bill admitted to Walker. "Turns out when you let people be creative, they come up with amazing things." The formal ceremony began. The old Council was officially dissolved, replaced by a new alliance where Earth would be a full member. But this time, Earth wasn't joining as a defeated world accepting Council rule. They were joining as equals, teachers who had shown the galaxy a better way. "The Thunderchild didn't just change how we fight," Anne told the assembly. "It changed how we think. We learned that perfection isn't about staying the same. It's about always trying to improve." Marcus stood to speak, his silver face showing new wisdom. "For 10,000 years, we thought we were teaching younger species. Now we understand that we can learn from them too. Every world, every culture, has something valuable to share." Walker addressed the gathering last. He spoke simply, the way humans always did. "Earth doesn't want to rule or control anyone. We just want to explore, learn, and grow. And we want to do it together with all of you." The new alliance was sealed not with rigid rules but with mutual respect. Each world would keep its own culture while sharing knowledge and ideas with others. Ships would patrol space together, crews learning from each other's strengths. Later, on the Thunderchild's observation deck, Walker watched ships of all kinds flying past the capital world. Each one was different now, showing its crew's creativity and pride. The Council's perfect golden fleet was gone, replaced by something more chaotic, but also more alive. "Ready to head home, Captain?" Bill asked. Earth was waiting to hear how everything had turned out. Walker nodded, but he knew this wasn't really an ending. It was a beginning. The galaxy was changing, growing, and improving every day, just the way humans always had. "Send a message to Earth Command," he told Tom. "Tell them the mission is complete. The Council hasn't just accepted us, they've embraced our way of life. And together, we're going to explore and grow in ways none of us ever imagined." The Thunderchild turned toward Earth, but now it wasn't alone. Ships from a dozen worlds followed, eager to learn and share. The perfect, unchanging Council was gone. In its place was something better, a galaxy ready to face tomorrow's challenges together, growing stronger through diversity and change.